Hello, everyone. Today we'll talk about the connection between Birkat Kohanim and the Korbanot and also the Amidah. And it's based on something that we already discussed about Aaron raising his hands to the people and blessing them. And we said that there was a Kriya Ktiv of Yado or Yadav. So during the time of the temple, the Kohanim would recite the priestly blessing after the conclusion of the Korbanot service. So the communal sacrifices, after they were finished, the Tamid, and if there was like a special day like Khatat or whatever. So the Torah writes this in reference to the 8th day of the dedication of the tabernacle, the day the Kohanim began performing their service there. Before that, for a week, it was Moshe. So Moshe was the high priest for a week only. And it says, Aaron lifted his hands towards the people and blessed them. He then descended from the altar where he had performed the sin offering, the burnt offering, and the peace offering. And from here, we learn that the people were blessed at the conclusion of the sacrificial offerings. The reason for this is that after offering the sacrifices, which express our readiness to surrender ourselves and sacrifice our souls to Hashem, we are worthy of receiving His blessing. So there's a huge argument between Maimonides and Nachmanides. Maimonides wrote in the Guide for the Perplexed that the reason for the sacrifice was because there was already all kinds of other religions and nations who were bringing sacrifices, and Hashem knew that that's something that the Jewish people would feel like it could relate to them as well, even though their God is invisible. And so that's why Hashem gave us the korbanot. And Nachmanides Ramban says, Ma pitom, that's not possible. Hashem does not give us commandments only because the goyim do something or don't do something. And so he suggests that it's actually from the word karov, to come close to Hashem, that we feel when we put our hands on the offering. And so the communal offering, there was what's called the ma'amadot, that they would do it for us. But even the personal offerings, when we put our hands on the offering, whether it's a bird or an animal, we are basically saying, I should have been on the altar, and instead I'm bringing this instead of me, because we don't believe in human sacrifices. So that debate will never end, because both that both opinions have justification from the verses. But just wanted to explain that that's why he's talking about these readiness and offering. Outside the temple, the Chachamim and the sages established that Birkat Kohanim would be recited during the prayer service, since prayer replaced the Korbanot. We talked at the very beginning of this course about the two opinions. One is about our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the other one is for the Korbanot. There is a similarity between the Korbanot and prayer, for in both, one's yearning for divine closeness is expressed. Just like the Kohanim recited the blessing after the Korbanot, so it was established that towards the end of the Shemona Esrei, the Kohanim blessed the nation. So that's the justification and connection to that. In order to greatly emphasize the relevance of Birkat Kohanim to the conclusion of the sacrificial offerings, the Chachamim established that the Kohanim are obligated to start walking in the direction of the Duchan at the time of Birkat Retzeh, for that is the bracha that discusses the return of the sacrificial offerings. Any Kohen who does not head toward the Duchan, lift his feet, that's how it's written in the Shulchan Aruch, at the time of Birkat Retzeh, loses the opportunity to fulfill the mitzvah and is prohibited from ascending to the Duchan during that Amidah. But so this is just prohibited because he wasn't willing to make the steps. But if there's like 30 Kohanim who are just coming back from washing their hands, and the Chazan is a little bit too quick, so he's already at Birkat Retzeh, they're shuffling up, and that's okay, because it's not their fault that they were delayed. And the Kohen should lift his feet in the beginning of Birkat Retzeh. However, as long as the Chazan did not reach the end of the bracha, the Kohen is still permitted to ascend towards the Duchan. And that's in the Mishnah Berurah. And again, we have to remember that in those days, the shul was much, much smaller. In the Sephardi shuls that I saw in Israel, the sink for washing the hands is actually outside of the shul. But many Ashkenazi shuls have it either inside in the back, or like in a side room or in a side yard. but within the contents of the building. Anyway, a Kohen who arrives late and realizes that he will not complete the washing of his hands before the conclusion of Birkat Yotzeh is advised to take a small step in the direction of the Dukhan while still standing at the sink. With this step, he is considered to have started to walk towards the Dukhan during Birkat Yotzeh. Just to clarify, the word Dukhan is an elevated space next to the ark. We talked about that a little bit in the Q&A yesterday. When he finishes his washing, he continues to walk to the Duchan to bless the people, and this is how the Mishnah Berurah and Nesiat Kapayim Kilchata, which is solely about the Birkat Kohanim, and so you wouldn't believe it. There's hundreds of pages because he brings every single detail that was ever written about the priestly blessing. Because Birkat Kohanim is connected to the Korbanot, the Chachamim teach that just as the time to bring the sacrificial offerings was specifically during the day, so too Birkat Kohanim is recited during the day. Therefore, the Kohanim do not bless the nation during Mariv, although presumably there is a reason to recite Birkat Kohanim during Mincha. The Chachamim decided against this because since the time of the Mincha prayer is usually after a meal, so in Israel and in other places in the world, the lunch is the main meal, and some people have drinks during lunch, alcoholic drinks, and so this way there's a fear that we're going to be inebriated, and the Kohen is not allowed to serve in the temple during drinking. Just to again mention the Rambam, who is so amazing about his belief that the temple was going to be built. He said that if a Kohen finds out which family he was from, which mishmar that David divided to the 24 mishmarot, and he knows that this is the week that they would have been in serving in the temple, he's not allowed to drink all day wine, just in case the Mashiach comes and builds the temple that day. That's how incredible the belief is of the coming of the Messiah and of rebuilding the temple. So that's about Mincha. And there is a concern that the Kohen who drank wine at his meal will subsequently ascend the Duchan to bless the people and desecrate the bracha, because it is forbidden for a person who is drunk to work in the temple, and he is prohibited from blessing the people. However, in Ne'ilah and during Mincha of public fast days, the blessing is recited because we know that nobody will be drinking wine. Even the people who have to eat on a fast day don't usually indulge in drinking, as far as I know. Since the Kohanim are fasting, there is no concern of intoxication. And when he said in Ne'ilah, that's actually one of those questionable, we already are standing and we already are walking, but it might be already after sunset, because most people want to finish the fast when the fast ends and not still be in Ne'ilah. So that might be a problem because we're not supposed to do it at night. But again, because of this idea that it is connected to the Korban, especially the Ma'ariv one of burning all night, then that's why a lot of people do Birkat Kohanim in Ne'ilah, even though it's already dark outside. So again, they were fasting all day, so of course we're not afraid that they're going to be desecrating the blessing. So since the Kohanim are fasting, there is no concern of intoxication. This is on condition that the Mincha of fast day is prayed after Plaga Mincha, a proportional hour and a quarter before sunset. But when Mincha of the fast day is recited before Plaga Mincha, the Kohanim do not bless the people because we're still technically in the time of the morning sacrifice. You were not allowed to bring the Tamid offering before Plaga Mincha. So that's the reasoning for that explanation. And some people have to work on a regular fast day, and so if they're davening mincha, at their workplace, then that's where we should remember not to do Birkat Kohanim in such a situation. And we'll stop here. If anybody has any questions.